Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to view Power Rangers Dino Fury episodes 15 through 17. So, for those of you who are to be retro Power Rangers fans, I completely understand. Because, of course, when we go into the newer, latest product, we end up oftentimes just disappointed. Maybe not visually, but with just story. And so, within 3 episodes, we get the Gold Ranger. Then he goes on to become this team leader, and then he turns around and gives up on being the leader, gives up on like fame and fortune, and then is to be humble. Man, like we have just a quick turnaround for the show, because I guess they just don't really have much story, but just to just quickly get through all of this. So we have, if I grow quickly to not really care for the Gold Ranger because he's just more of the same, I then am to go on and state like none of these Rangers seem all that focused on being Power Rangers, that they would rather be focused on other things. And so we go on into these episodes and we have again more monsters that may not have much of tie of what's really going on in the story, but are to be interesting looking nonetheless. So we also seem to have some clickbaiting and some repeated stories that, of course, are very similar to stuff of the past. Like, we end up getting, like, a Power Rangers Day. And we have Jane, who was, like, reading this whole paper thing right around where the Power Rangers are conveniently, so they can be like, oh my god, yeah, like, we should probably do something about this Power Rangers Day. We also are to go on and have a clickbaiting thing where we, of course, have the Morphin Master that goes on to state that Lord Zed is going to be this latest threat for the Power Rangers, but does he come back via the following episode? No. Does he come up 2 episodes after that? No. So, why is he here? Don't know. We'll find out probably in the next season, right? Because there's only so many episodes left of this season. So, with that said, so let's, of course, go on and go into kind of what happens for the rest of it. So, the teeing up. So, Ollie is to, of course, be so tech distracted with new technologies that he can just go and buy at his fingertips that he really doesn't care about helping out Javi. So we have the Power Rangers that end up having a new to end up having tech that is kind of conflicting with their mission. So Ollie's like, oh my god, I gotta figure out how I can get new tech. So I'm just like, So we end up finding out that there's to be this sub-drone that is to be dragging this item from out of the water, and that ends up being what the Gold Ranger comes out of. And so the Gold Ranger comes in and just wrecks house, and is to state that he is somehow tied to Zato. In the following episode, we then have Ion that is talking to Zato and is to kind of tell more of Zato's backstory, as well as Ion's, to state that Zato had kind of been the General Zod to Ion's, like, Jarrell. So, we have literally, like, the Power Rangers slipping on banana peels for the other episode, with Mucus kind of really like taking on more of a presence than she has in other episodes. I'm like, great, an annoying character that I don't really like. Yeah, let's have her just go on and just be dominant here. So Zato comes to find out, considering he has egg on his face consistently through one episode, that he just easily lets uh, Ion go on to become the leader of the Power Rangers. But then we go on and find out that it seems that Ion is so focused on being famous and getting selfies with people that the further and further we realize here that that Ion is going to have to, instead of being a leader, he's going to have to just go on and be a character that you'll probably quickly forget about or just want to because he's freaking annoying. And so, with that said, because free ice cream for life! Because it's news, that's why. It's news! The news is here! That's why. So, with that said, I think I'm just going to go into that double 5-time territory. Let's go into, of course, what is spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time we can spoil these episodes. So, we go into Bloodbath. I mean, Buzz Blast? Buzz Blast. My bad. So, we have Ollie that is walking into Buzz Blast to find that Javi is to be upset with him because it's like, well, hey man, you're supposed to have like delivered me like samples for this story, and now you have nothing. And so like Jane had to quickly take J-Borg to come up with a plan B, and so J-Borg is just kind of painting off this brush, and she's like, I don't know what to paint because I'm a robot, and Jane was like, crap. So we now have the Power Rangers that are kind of upset with Ollie because he has bought these headphones and this smartwatch, and it's like, man, you're somehow getting a ton of money from being a Power Ranger, right? Because you aren't getting money from doing Buzz Blast stuff. So we have Ollie that goes on and has had these noise canceling headphones, and he's making a joke about them with Ollie. So Jane comes in is to mention that that Javi, to make it up for him not having those samples from before, Jane can go on and have him do this unusual storm story that he can go on and cover. So we have Javi that is realizing that Ollie can help him out on this story, and hopefully he won't ditch on him this time, but guess what's going to happen? So we have the Rangers that are starting to figure out that maybe this storm might be going on simply because of the Nexus Prism. You know, the thing from one of the Ninja Steel shows that like no one really cared about from Ninja Steel, but they're reusing it here because it's basically the Forever Red thing all over again, where we had like Beetleborgs and all kinds of stuff. General Venjix, that basically is the same title from a name of an RPM season villain. It really just is. So, but it's from a alternate dimension or some goofy crap, right? It's not the same thing. Anyways, so the Nexus Prism seems to be searching for something in this water, and it really is creating a point of a storm. So we have the Rangers who are realizing that they need to go to Dr. Akana to talk to her about this whole storm and if she can use any drones to try to figure out if there's anything down there that is possibly causing this disturbance. And so Ali is realizing that his mother's tech is to be so dinosaurish that she should go on and get a new upgrade of her laptop, and his mother's just like, no, 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 like this is working fine, as she's smacking and hitting it and whatever. So we have both Mucus and Slyther that are coming up with a master plan to take down the Power Rangers and coming up with this new monster that has something to do with this storm that is in water. So we come to find our Rangers with another Sporix beast called Tidemare. So we have the Power Rangers going on and morphing, and we have them use a Dino Fury key, and that ends up being the Blazing Dino Fury key. And so we have Zato that uses the Blazing Fury Blast to uh, take down this monster, but it doesn't kill it indefinitely. So next up, after the monster seemingly vanishes, we then have Ollie who's talking to the Power Rangers and like, well, hey, like, do you think that all this might be focused on this storm that my mother is working on? Maybe we should check if she's having any close encounters. So they go back to Ollie's mom to ask her. It's like, well, hey, have you seen anything unusual here? Like any monster appearances? And Dr. Uh, Akana is like, no, like I'm just seeing that the storm is getting stronger. So we then have Javi and Ollie that are rushing on to go to their interview, so that way Javi can make this up to Jane, um, and hopefully get some money also. So we have them rush to Buzz Blast, and so we come to find out that Jane is giving a giveaway. She is to do the oldest trick in the book, which is to have this guy, Mr. Wiz, appear with this jar of gumballs. And so he's like, hey guys, guess how many gumballs are in this jar? Whoever wins the guess ends up getting this huge laptop. And Ollie is looking at the laptop and he's like, oh my god, I need this. So we then turn to Javi and Ollie who are doing this interview. And so Javi is asking Ollie about the underwater drones. It's like, well, hey, man, like, it seems like you're going on and having your mother go and do these underwater drones, so that way you can kind of see like where this storm is heading. Like, tell me about that. And Ollie's like, yeah, does anybody have a pen and paper? I can kind of put this equation and write things down. Like, I really, because of course Ollie is focused on that jar of gumballs. So we consistently have Javi that continues to ask questions for Ollie to just continue to ignore him. And so then Ollie is to figure out that there are 2046 gumballs in that jar. And it's like, ding, 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 that's correct. So Ollie's like, well, it's simple mathematics. Anybody could have done it. So we go on to have Ollie run off with this laptop, and Javi's like, dude, you just ruined another one of my my interviews, one of my projects. And Ollie's like, well, like I'm just gonna go on and just like I need to take this laptop to my mother so that way we can get an updated like tech, so like we can find out what's really going on quicker. So we of course go on to find out that Mr. Wiz is just Slyther. And so we have the Power Rangers who all go on to go to either Dino Henge, or we have the Blue and the Black Ranger go on to meet up again with Ollie's mom. So we have the Blue and the Black Ranger realize that uh, the laptop that uh, that is to be the new laptop, as soon as Ollie puts all this new data, they realize that it's getting hacked. And they realize that it's getting hacked by Slifer. So we go on to have the Power Rangers that are at Dino Henge, and they're trying to figure out the cause of this disturbance and try to track it down to find out that it has everything to do with both Mucus and Slither. So we go on to, of course, have the Power Rangers track both Slifer and Mucus down, and that's when it's the big reveal that Mr. Wiz was Slifer the whole time, and that they're going to go on and release this monster out against the Rangers again. So, while we, of course, have both Slifer and Mucus that are trying to go on and drag out this this object, which ends up being the Gold Ranger anyways, we have Dr. Akana, who is to notice this Gold Ranger and immediately tries to put all the pieces together and figures everything out. So we have all the Rangers morph, and we then have all of them use all these Dino keys. So we end up having one of the Rangers using the Shield Dino key, and they end up having this Sonic splash that, of course, Tidemare uses. We have the Gold Ranger that ends up coming in, and the Gold Ranger ends up coming against Tidemare, and he uses his Electro Dino key, and because everything is Electro when it comes to this Gold Ranger. And then he uses his Electro Blade Blast and is to destroy this monster. And so we then have Ion that is talking to Zato. It's like, well, hey, you and I, Zato, know one another really well. And Zato's like, yeah, we do know one another. And so Zato walks away, and so the Rangers are like, wait, what about that backstory? And then all of a sudden we cue up Jane, who is back to this bubblegum bubble contest. And so we have all these characters trying to make this big, massive bubble, because if anything, if J-Borg and Jane aren't annoying enough, as well as Mucus, as well as Gold Ranger, we go on to have J-Borg, who is to have all these bubblegum pieces fly out of this jar. She catches all of them, and she makes an even bigger bubble than anyone else. But then when it pops, it hits both Jane and it hits both J-Borg, and so they're like, So really, that's where most of that first episode kind of finishes up. We also had Dr. Akana that was to, again, kind of figure out everything about the Gold Ranger, and so that's kind of where that episode heads. So, next up, we go on to, at the beginning of the next episode, we have Dino Henge. Dino Fury! Anyways, so... Dino Hedge Fury. Anyways, we also have Henchman that it's Henchman, but it's Hedgeman, and just some of the names it gives a pass, but still it's just So we come to find that Ion has made his way back to Dino Henge, and we have the rest of the Rangers that are kind of in the underground part of Dino Henge. So the Gold Ranger then appears and is to go on and have Zato talk about the Sporex battle and how exactly did Ion survive. So, come to find out, we had Zato and Ion with some other Rangers from before, and probably most of them had all died. So, or either that or they forgot, because I'm assuming maybe the Pink Ranger at some point might be somehow tied to what is to be Zato or Ion's story here. So we go on to have Ion mentioning that he had gone on to have the Zord destroy, uh, or that he had been rescued by the Morphin Master, the green one, and was told about this coming threat because we would of course have Ion, who had been kind of trapped in this container for a very long stretch of time, and from the Megazord that had been destroyed. So the Morphin Master had awoken him, telling him that Lord Zed is coming, and so he should wake up. So, and we also talked about how Zato had been the cause of all these Sporex beasts coming too, because we had this representative of Rafgar, or Rafcon, who goes on to speak to Zato, the leader of the Rafcon Knights, and she states that there's a decision to be made. That maybe that the Sporix beasts can go on and help them out in this next coming war, and like maybe they should give it a chance. And so Zato, instead of like saying like what Ion's saying is like clearly no, Zato is like, well, if the representatives think that it's a good idea, then I think it's a good idea. So they go on and they have this contraption that goes on to release all these uh, Sporex, and they all of a sudden all become monsters, and they wipe out all of the Rafcon people. And so we have Amelia that complains to Zato. It's like, so, like, the real reason that all this had happened, that Sporix had come to Earth, is because of you. So that's the reason why we're even dealing with all of these problems in the first place, is because of Zato. So we have him be the General Zod of Power Rangers, I guess. So we go on to realize that Mucus is having this spear gun and she is attacking people. So it's like, okay, Rangers, go out there and face against this threat. So we had Ion that is to want to take over as leader from the Power Rangers, and right at that moment, and it seems that Zato is wanting to, like, okay, like, it's yours, like, I don't really care. So because he is to end up with egg on his face anyways, Zato will. So we get into this big massive battle with Mucus, and she goes on to fire all these things out of the spear gun, and this ends up going on and blasting this fish egg or fish oil container. So we start to see that Zato is to start to slip on all this fish oil, and he ends up kind of falling onto this one crate, and Mucus starts to, with the spear gun, blast Zato to get stuck onto this crate. And now all the rest of the Rangers are like, well, we have to help out Zato. So they all start walking on this fish oil, and they slip and fall also. So the Gold Ranger comes in. It's like, dude, like, you guys are dumb. Like, I'm going to come in and break up this crate into itty bitty parts and have us just go, like, surfing our way through the air, it seems, or be rolling, obviously, to make our way to attack Mucus. And so we have the Gold Ranger that goes on to take out Mucus, and so we then have Hedgemen that kind of come in and they have to kind of fight them all off. So we we go on to have the Power Rangers that are to find out that uh, that Slyther and his henchmen are leaving with some boat to find the Gold Zord. And so Ion is like, wait a minute, they found my Zord? Because that's exactly how he sounds. They found my Zord? Ah, alright then. That's how he sounds. No offense to the actor, it's just that's how he sounds. So we go on back to Dino Henge. And so we, of course, have Zato who is licking his wounds, and Solon is kind of taking care of him. We have Izzy that is complimenting the Gold Ranger for his crate trick. And so we obviously then realize that uh, that the Rangers are going on to kind of look into this new threat. So we have Zato who puts on some other clothes uh, that Salon had kind of prepared for him. It's kind of funny how like Zato would consistently state to like Solon, it's like, thank God you're not extinct. Anyways, just like really like having these two like be like this item, but heaven forbid, like you have Zato who is like, give me some of that Solon, or Solon. So, anyways, so we have Zato that thanks Solon for the clothes, and then we have this heart to heart where Zato is like, well, yeah, like I am kind of making a mess of myself lately, so I think I should go on and just give the leadership role to the Gold Ranger, and like Zalon, or Solon is to state, it's like, well, yeah, like the greatest challenge of anybody is to realize when they need to kind of get out of the way for someone else. So we have Ollie that is a state that his mom's subdrone may have data on the Gold Zord. So they need to kind of look into that. So we have Void Knight, Mucus, and Slyther that I think are back in Area 50 or 62. And they need to go on and create a new monster from Sporex, which of course ends up being Wreckmate. So we go back to Buzz Blast, and we, heaven forbid I know what happens in Buzz Blast. Let me pause here for a second. Okay, so the Rangers find out where the Zord actually is. They actually see a picture of it, and so it's like, okay, like, but can we narrow down the location? And it's like, we'll figure that out. So they then quickly go on to find out where the monster is, but it seems that also Mucus and Wreckmate are kind of wreaking havoc. So the Power Rangers have to go on to fight off, of course, Mucus, Wreckmate, and Henchman. And so we then go on to have the Power Rangers use the combination of the Electro and Blazing Dino keys and fight against Wreckmate. And then Wreckmate ends up becoming bigger. So we have the Power Rangers that end up being in the Dino Fury Megazord Warrior formation, and come to find out we have the two of these characters, Wreckmate and the Megazord, and the Megazord goes into the water. So Megazord goes into the water to then have the two of them fight, and what ends up happening is that the further and further that this Megazord sinks down in the water, the worse off it's going to be. So I'm like, wait a minute, so like this Zord's greatest weakness is just going into the water. That's stupid. How many other times have Power Rangers gone into fight in water? But it is what it is. So really, it's just to showcase this other Zord that can fight in the water. So we have everybody scrambling, and they're like, well, hey, what should we do? Because our Zord is gonna like just destroy itself. It can't deal with the water pressure. And so it's like, well, hey, Ion, like, what, you're the leader here. So Ion states, it's like, well, I don't know. So, like, anybody have any suggestions? Zato states that, like, he has an idea to just have everybody just ditch this Megazord and get out of there, because it's dangerous to kind of keep here. So they'll kind of, like, they'll still be alive, but their Zord might be destroyed. So they come back onto the surface, but then since the Gold Ranger is to find his Mosa Razor Zord, they then end up going into having that Zord fight with Checkmate to then become the Mosa Razor Zord battle mode. And we have the Red and Gold Ranger who go into that Zord to face off against this Wreckmate, and they go on to defeat him in the water. And so the next thing we end up seeing is that the Rangers are saying, like, man, it's good that that Zord came in at the time that it did, or otherwise we would have been toast. And so Ion is to state that, like, he realizes that he had gone on to make a mistake by kind of rushing in and trying to be the leader too soon, and that maybe he should leave that to Zato for being the leader of this team, because he's just more experienced at being this team leader and coming up with ideas. So, but like, we have both them with the Chroma Fury Saber and the Gold Fury Blade Blaster, both Red and Gold Ranger kind of fighting one another, but then hugging one another, and that's how the episode ends to go into the next episode. So we go on to have Ion, who is to be with the rest of the Rangers on the beach, and he's talking about how great it is to be on this beach and have all these castles being built and all these interesting things. And so we of course have the Black Ranger that is to state, it's like, well, hey man, I wouldn't also go for some ice cream. And Ion's like, well, what's that? And Zato's like, well, yeah, I had some ice cream when I first got here, and man, is it great. So we come to find out that Jayborg and Jane are waiting for ice cream themselves, or had gotten ice cream themselves. And so we have Jane and Jayborg that go on to get ice cream, and so Jane is to say to Jayborg, well, hey, how about you try some? And so it seems that Jayborg tries too much of it, and is to then just short circuit and smack into people. This smacking into people leads to this domino effect that has this ice cream cart go off its wheeled path. So we have the Black Ranger and we have the Green Ranger, or we have the Black Ranger and we have the Gold Ranger, because the Green Ranger and the Pink Ranger and the Red, there's so many people that don't really do anything in these episodes. It's like, man, it's a good thing that they're just here cashing this check, because they don't really have much lines to do. Just wait for them to just be in the background somewhere. So We have the Black Ranger that goes on and saves the girl, and he's not morphed, Hobby. And we have Ion that goes on to stop the cart right before it hits this couple. Ion tries to call for the couple to move, but they won't, so he has to jump onto the thing, try and stop it, and luckily he does. And then the people turn to be like, oh, hey, how convenient is that ice cream? Isn't that great? So we have the ice cream vendor attendant character who goes on to realize that these two rangers had kind of saved him and saved his cart. So it's like free ice cream for life. So we go on to have a monster for this episode called Trawler, who appears on the beach as Sporex. So Trawler ends up coming in. And so once, of course, Ion is to get his ice cream, he is to realize that it's like, well, like being a Power Ranger is more important. And also, he can get ice cream whenever he wants to because free ice cream for life. And he tosses the ice cream. So we have the Rangers that need to morph but don't want to do it in public. Wow, the first time in a million years that these people decide that they should morph in not a public place. So Amelia is to see this changing room, and so they morph. So we have Jane and Jayborg covering this whole Power Rangers attack because it's news. So we have Jane and Jayborg that are covering this, and they're saying that they're at Neptune Beach, which is basically having a lot of people want to come to Neptune Beach to see this attack. So we all of a sudden find that the monster, the trawler, which kind of looks like a pirate ship, is to have gone on and netted a bunch of people. So we have the Gold Ranger that is to cut these people from this net to free them, and we all of a sudden have Jane that is stating to the Gold Ranger, it's like, well, hey, like how about you give us a photo op? How about you go on and you like kind of talk to us? And all of a sudden, Ion's like, sure, yeah, that sounds great. While all the other Power Rangers are getting netted and getting taken, we end up having one of the Rangers who gets netted, and he's like, well, yeah, but you're not going to get all of us. And then immediately when the trawler goes on to net all the Power Rangers but the Gold Ranger, the Ranger's like, well, I guess I was wrong about that. So we go on to have the Gold Ranger that has to go on to help all the other Power Rangers, and so he does. And so when the monster is to go on and no. Let's back up a little bit. So we have Tramble or Trawler that is to talk to Mucus, and Mucus is saying like, hey, like since we found you, like how about you team up with us? And Trawler is like, wow, that sounds great because I need crew on my ship anyways. So Trawler and Mucus leave, and so the Gold Ranger is still doing his photo opportunity, and all the Rangers at some point get free, and they're ticked with the Gold Ranger because he's continuing to do this photo op with all these people. And so we then go on to, of course, have the villains that are all at Area 62. And so we have Void Knight that is going on and talking with Slifer and Mucus and Trawler. And so the next thing we end up seeing is that Jane is talking about this beach party. The beach party celebrating the Power Rangers and everything they've done for Pine Ridge. Everyone's invited, especially the Rangers, because of course they are. So Jane is to read this off in the Buzz Blast open area, and so all of a sudden the Rangers are kind of hearing like from underneath her, like, "Hey, yeah, like we should go here, and it'd be great. This beach party. That sounds like an awesome idea." So we have the Rangers that go off to this beach party, and we have Zato that makes the whole idea of like, well, we'll go in there as civilians and kind of see what happens. So we have Slyther, who is to be this party host, and he has Tramble or Trawler that's kind of waiting off to the side. So we have this party host that's like, "You guys want to see the Power Rangers, right?" Like, "Yeah." So everybody's like, "Power Rangers, Power Rangers." It's like, "Oh, great." So we have, of course, like the Rangers that are kind of telling Ion, like, "Hey, man, don't do anything." And of course, that's one thing he wants to do because fame and fortune are to be his just loves. So Ion goes on to show up in front of this guy and is to be like, "Hey guys, I'm the Gold Rangers." "Oh, hey, great." So his party host is like, "Well, hey, like you're not alone, are you? Like, are the other Power Rangers here?" And we of course have the Gold Ranger that's like, "Oh no, like they're busy like training or they're busy doing other things." So we have Slyther that's like, "Well, like then you can at least show us your Zord then, right?" So the Gold Ranger is like, and Zato's like, "Please don't show him your Zord. Don't do anything but show him your Zord. Don't whip those pants down and show him your Zord. Come on." So we of course have Ion that gives in to what this guy wants, and we all of a sudden have the Mosa Razor Zord come flying out of the water, and immediately we have Trawler that takes his net and grabs the Zord. So we of course have the Rangers that are like, "God, like, didn't you realize that was a trap? Like, come on." So we have the Rangers that have to go back to Dino Henge to track down where the Zord is, and they find out that it's in, of course, Albert Park. So we go on to have the trawler that's going to distract the Power Rangers, while Gold and Black are going to go on to find the actual Zord. So we have the Rangers fighting off Trawler, and he's making puns about safety nets. So we have the Black and Gold Rangers. So the Black Ranger is using this Invisi key to try and attack all these people, while the Gold Ranger is just walking in there, just like, "Hey, give me back my Zord." We oddly enough had Slifer that was trying to hypnotize the Zord to have it be under his control, but I guess that didn't somehow work out. So we go on to have the Gold Ranger get his Melissa Razor Zord back, and is to also call upon the Demetrio Blazing Zord. So it's a little different than the Metrio Zord that, of course, was from Dino Thunder, right? It's different because it's blazing now. It's like the normal wing and the blazing wing. So we have this Zord that combines together, and the Black Ranger is kind of jealous that the Gold Ranger can figure out how to mix Zords together. So we of course now have the the Trawler Zord, or the Trawler monster that ends up getting bigger. So they end up having to use uh, the Dino Fury Megazord Warrior configuration to try and take this thing down. And so we end up having the Gold Ranger that goes with the Electro Zord. So by the end of this, we have the Electro Zord that wipes out, because it's a new flashy Zord that goes on to wipe out the monster. And so we have the end of this episode where it's again like, hey guys, like we're all at the beach, like we're all having fun, so let's go and let's get some more ice cream. And they're like, oh yeah, like we can get as much ice cream as we want. And so even the ice cream attendant is like, well, hey guys, like what are you doing waiting in line? Like you guys can get as much ice cream as you want. So we go in to have the Gold Ranger, who's like, well, like having free ice cream is great and all, but I think I want to earn my ice cream. So the Gold Ranger is realizing that the ice cream attendant is to just kind of like be really busy. So the Gold Ranger pitches in, and so we have one woman, and he's like, well, hey, like what flavors would you like? Would you like this one, that one, or would you like them all together? And she's like, you're speaking my mind. Wow. So we even had, I think, the Gold Ranger that goes on to ask for like strawberry ice cream and have them be like all strawberry ice cream. We also had the one point where Mucus was to find the ice cream like little vending thing, and she starts chucking out all of this ice cream to hit Wreckmate and keeps smacking him. And I thought that was kind of funny, even though it was silly. And so like we have the Rangers that are just kind of watching on as Mucus and Wreckmate are just kind of having this ice cream go flying. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm just gonna go on and get out of here. Let me know in the comments below how you felt about these episodes. I'm going to get out of here to try and get other things done today. So goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.